So there are 3 must-haves if you want to get sponsorships for your podcast. What's good, podcasters? I'm Coach Chris, host of the Personal Branding Playbook, and I want to explain to you 3 things that you have to get your podcast sponsored. Now, for me, I've been getting sponsorships for the past 5 years in podcasting now, so I've seen the industry really shift, where in the beginning, all you needed to say was, I have a podcast, where now you actually have to have a few things lined up if you want to build the right relationships and bring in the revenue. The first thing you have to have if you want sponsorships for your podcast is an audience. And an audience. But what I mean by an audience is you need to know who exactly you're creating content for. I really get frustrated when podcasters come to me and they ask me, well, how can I get a sponsorship? Who's your audience? I don't know. It's really frustrating because that tells me you are not ready to get sponsors. No disrespect, you're just not at that point just yet. The beautiful thing is you can get there pretty easily. Just start doing research, see who exactly listens to your kind of content. Find influencers that you would love to have as guests on your show because that means they fit the platform, and then see who's following them, who engages with their content on Instagram, who's in their Facebook group. See who's in that community and who's active consistently. Then you'll kind of get a gauge of what the audience is looking for. And you can begin to see what other content is doing well in that industry as well. For example, in the podcast space, certain content is doing really well right now compared to Facebook marketing, right? Like it's really shifting the same way that TikTok is doing very well in terms of the social platforms, but Twitter isn't as popular. All right, you got to understand what is really going on in your industry, in your market, so that you can create better content and really connect with your core audience of people. Another strategy you can do, and this one, it kind of takes a little bit of time, I'll be honest. You can run surveys. Now, what I mean is you create a survey for your audience to ask them specific questions. Things like, who is your favorite influencer? What kind of coffee do you buy? Who's your favorite artist? Because when you know their favorites, you get more data on them and what they're really consuming, what they're interested in. Then to take it to even the next level, you get to see, okay, what are you actually buying consistently? Like, where are you online? What app do you love to use the most? Like, I know most podcasters love Instagram. In contrast, most of them hate Twitter and LinkedIn. And the ones that do use Twitter don't know how to use it correctly. And I learned this from talking to a lot of podcasters and sending my survey out. Now, as a pro tip, don't send your survey out to social media. Don't just post it in a Facebook group so you can get answers. That's not going to work. What would be better is if you send it personally, directly to your ideal listeners. For example, if you have somebody that you know listens to your show every week, send them your survey, get them to fill it out and answer the questions, because that's going to give you some great data and feedback. The second thing you need to get your podcast sponsored is the right connections. You got to be connected to the right people. I learned this very early on. Having a big show with a ton of downloads is great leverage, but you can still get a sponsor if you just know the right people. Like, if you look at some of these investment companies, they don't invest in all of the best ideas. They invest in ideas they believe in because they believe in that person, right? A lot of these companies get billions of dollars with just an idea. So you as a podcaster can get thousands of dollars with just an idea. I've gotten shows sponsored without one episode published. So it's very much possible. It just comes down to who you know and how great your relationship is. So the first step is for you to really find the person in the company you want to connect with in marketing. That's the best idea, right? Because the marketing department determines where the company is marketed. And if you want advertising dollars, it's going to come from that marketing budget. So find somebody in the marketing department and build that relationship. Do all the right things you can to get on a first name basis, learn more about them and their family, really get connected to who they are, because in the long term, that's what's going to bring you the real sponsorship dollars. All right, so my last tip, number 3, is a marketing strategy. And when I say a marketing strategy, I teach my clients that you should have 2 forms of content on 2 platforms for each episode you release. For example, If your episode comes out on Monday, which most podcast episodes do, throughout that week, you should have at least a blog post and let's say a video clip, right? That's 2 forms of content. Now you can put them on 2 other platforms, which means it could be Facebook and LinkedIn, Twitter and Instagram. You choose the 2 where your audience is usually spending their time on social media. That's going to help you really build your brand, build your platform consistently, because people consume content in consistent ways. The person that reads blogs is always going to read a lot of blogs. The people that used to buy newspapers, now they just look at medium.com, right? People that watch videos, they love YouTube. So you got to figure out which platform is going to work for you and your show, and then which content styles work for you as well. You're already doing audio with the podcast, but you can repurpose it and then do video as well, like this here, or do blog posts. Now, blogs are not gonna blow up super fast because you need a lot in SEO, and that's a whole nother video. But blogs are great when you need a reference point for your show. Again, some people consume content differently, so that person that reads blogs might not know about your podcast just yet. But from you sharing your show there on the blog on medium.com, they find out about your show and then they're listening. That means you're building a platform. And sponsors love this because it shows that your show is professional. Right? That means that you have a lot of effort going into this. It's high quality content. You didn't just wake up one day and start recording. Because let's be honest, that's what most podcasters did. But if you want to transition to where you're bringing in real dollars from podcasting, you have to, I repeat, you have to build a real platform. Okay, so I know I said I was done, but I got one more pro tip, one more. You gotta have a schedule. And what I mean by schedule is when you put out content, that needs to be the day you put out content every single week. Don't put out content one day this week and then you switch it up next week and then you switch it up the next month. That's very inconsistent and that's not professional. That's not what the pros do. And sponsors do not like that, because let's say they paid you to put out content. They paid you for a pre-roll ad on your next 10 episodes, but you're inconsistent. So you put out one episode on Monday and then the next Monday it doesn't come out, so they have to wait until Wednesday to see it, and then the week after that you put it out on Tuesday. That's not gonna work. That's not professional. How would you feel if your favorite show that usually comes on a Sunday night didn't come on a Sunday night but it came on Tuesday morning? Wouldn't it just be kind of confusing, right? They just switched the show schedule. Podcasters cannot do that. This is being professional. And one thing I want to teach here on this channel is how you can transition from being just a podcaster to a professional podcaster, because professionals get paid the money, they get the big sponsors, they get the brand deals where they get free products and stuff, while the podcasters just want to have fun, don't really get there. And I'm not saying you can't have fun when you're a pro, but you have to take it seriously. So those are really, it was going to be 3, but 4 tips to getting your podcast sponsored. Those are 4 things you must have. If you don't have those, do not expect to get sponsored. Now, I do have a sponsorship checklist in the comments below, completely free. Go and get that. That's going to help you really analyze and see where you are in terms of getting your show sponsored. If you have any other questions, find me on Instagram or Twitter at @thecoachchris_. Make sure you subscribe and leave your show in the comments if you want me to check it out. I will see you next time. Your greatness awaits.